You sure showed me. I'll just tear up this check for $3,500 and you get nothing. You lose. Good day. When I was a property shepherd for banks that foreclosed on properties, I was often asked to see if the occupants would accept money in exchange for surrendering the property in clean, intact condition and skipping the eviction. I had nothing to do with the foreclosure or eviction and they used me because the lawyers charged hundreds of dollars an hour for that kind of thing. They prepared the offer, I presented it, if they said yes the bank sent me a check, I inspected the house and if it was clean and intact handed over the check. Important note, there was an eviction clock running. If I did not report that they had complied with the agreement the eviction would proceed. They did not stop that process unless I was successful, so I was helpless to grant extra time to move out beyond the agreement says be out by the 14th, you are working hard, the bank is closed, I can come back first thing in the morning and if you are done I'll release the check and tell the bank you complied. I was dealing with a couple in a 4,000 square feet house. They had been fighting the foreclosures, then fighting the eviction and the bank and lawyers were sick of them. I delivered the offer. $3,500 to be out in 2 weeks. It was explicitly clear that I was not from the bank. I was not from the lawyer's office. They showed up at my office anyway and tried to convince us to sell them the house. The house which was not for sale. Which they couldn't afford or they wouldn't be facing eviction. Which wasn't ours. They didn't like any of those truths, said we had better start checking under our car before starting it up and stormed out. They wanted the money and I always did what little I could to help people make the deadline. I always offered to come by a few days early and point out what needed to be clean. Normal wear and tear? No problem. Stained carpet? This isn't a security deposit so unless it was a fresh, intentional stain I didn't care. Missing fixtures? That's a problem. Unswept floors? Problem. Bags of rotting food in the garage? You get the picture. I went over for a pre-inspection. Not even close. I pointed out what needed to happen. They asked if they could have the check now to hire cleaners and they would totally have it ready in time. Being ugly, not stupid, I declined and said I would see them on the date they agreed to. I show up. They hadn't cleaned up anything since my previous visit. They demanded the check anyway. They worked hard to come up with excuses. They were tired after threatening to kill me with a car bomb. They needed the money for the down payment on another house. Won't I do them a favor? They will do anything for the check except clean. I marked them non-compliant and left, returning the check to the lawyer's office. A week later the lawyer's office told me I was free to take possession of the house and start my processes. Still lots of trash. Grime everywhere. Many missing light fixtures. Best of all, they had taken all of the towel racks and toilet paper holders, ripping them straight out of the wall along with significant chunks of drywall. They sure taught me a lesson by damaging a house that wasn't mine. And for skipping at best 3 hours of cleaning they lost out on $3,500 even though they deserved that money for being stressed.